kind of have to pee right now, but I'm just gonna hold it. Sometimes when like you hold your pee for long enough, and like you really, really have to pee to the point where like you got to do pee dance. You know what I mean? Like going back to like elementary school, kindergarten, like pee dance style. You know, like where you really need to use the bathroom, but your teacher won't let you use the bathroom, and you start tapping your feet under your desk, and then it gets to the point where like you got to pee so freaking bad. Sorry to say the word freaking. And like you start doing the pee dance, and then you finally pee, and it's like the greatest feeling in the world. Like you're like, oh my god, I'm peeing, this is amazing. Yeah, sometimes it's good to wait until you get to that stage, just so you could be really grateful for peeing. Like really appreciate peeing. You know, because if you just pee whenever you feel like you need to pee, you're never really going to appreciate peeing. You know, you're just going to be like, oh, I'm peeing again, whatever. But if like you really hold it for extra long, when you pee, you're going to be like, oh my god, this is the greatest feeling ever. Like, I love peeing. This is amazing. Yeah, I'm kind of worried right now because my AC has not been running all day. Like, I've been up since 4, oh gosh. I've been up since 4:14. Woke up a bit earlier today. And it's 7:01, and the AC hasn't run once. So that must mean like the person that I live with probably like either passed away last night, or I don't know what's going on, because the AC is always running. So it's just like what? Maybe I should like go down and investigate. I was just doing the TikTok video about that. Like maybe I should just go down and investigate him. Like knock on his door, open the door, make sure he's still there. You know what I mean? I don't know. Kind of scared. Yeah, I've never actually. Well, I've seen one dead body once, and like that's pretty traumatic. Like when you see somebody in front of you and they're dead, it's pretty messed up. Yeah, I was at like this concert. It was a Dave Matthews concert, and I was there. I think it was me. No, it was me and like my girlfriend at the time, Nicole, which my family like really did not like Nicole, probably for good reasons. Her life ended up being very traumatic, very horrible, because she wasn't very loving, and she looked down upon other people, and eventually it caught up to her. You know, I remember this one time we were in this restaurant, and we were going up north to where I went to college. And we were at this restaurant, and you know, and this was a town of humble origin. The people there did not have that much money. I mean, it was upstate New York. People upstate New York, they're not city folk. They're just trying to make it through day to day, you know, and just they enjoy life. They, you know, whatever they do, you know, but they're not wrapped up in restaurant etiquette and, you know, whatever it is, right? And, you know, so we're at this restaurant, and it's like kind of like a steakhouse diner or something like that. And, and I had my elbows on the table because I'm like a dude, and I was like a college person. I was 21, and I was like a party boy during that age. Like me and my buddy Dr. D, we drank like a mother, and we were just oh dude, we owned it. We were so like we were fat, and we were drinking, and like oh dude, we like we were so unaware of like who cares, that like we had cockroaches all over our apartment, and like we didn't care about the cockroaches because like whatever, we just considered them our pets. And whenever we had to use the bathroom back in college, like we turned on the light switch of the bathroom, and there were like hundreds of cockroaches in the bathroom, and some of them started to fly like flying cockroaches. And I remember this one kid tried to move in with us, And like me and Dr. D, we were very selective or Dr. D and myself, we were very selective who lived with us, right? Like they had to be like ideal candidates to like live with us. And there was this one kid, he moved in, and Dr. D and myself were just not feeling this kid like at all. He just wasn't one of us, you know. And so like I drove him out with my insanity. Like, because if I want to drive people out, I drive them out. And usually it takes not even a day. Sometimes I like psychologically drive them away, or sometimes I just become so psychotic and insane that they just don't want to be around me anymore. Yeah, I used to be very, very good at that. I used to be very, very good at either manipulating people into like believing them, into believing certain things. Like the first one, like I never liked roommates in college. My first year there was this kid, and a really nice kid, like awesome guy. But like I like never had a college roommate before, and I was very Dostoevsky, and like I like to just like be isolated and a hermit with like no lights on, with like just like you know drawing by candlelight for hours and smoking cigars. And like I was I like there was no way I could function with another human in that environment, because they turn on the lights and play like rock and roll music or whatever, and I was listening to like opera and classical music and like just drawing for hours and chain smoking cigars and just like getting lost in like insanity. And like it had to be dark, like always. And if there was somebody like interfering with that, like turning on lights and like listening to rock music or rap music or pop music or whatever the case may be, I'd be like, that is not the way of like, I was just insane, dude. I was so fucking far gone, man. I was a true artist. So, that was like, so in my first like 3 days of being in college, they gave me this roommate that I had to live with in a very small room, like the size of my room now. And he was a nice guy. Like the guy was fucking nice. And like the first day, we went to lunch together because he was like, "Hey, do you want to go to lunch together?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it," right? Because he wanted to make friends, and he figured like I was his roommate, we should be friends. So we went to lunch, and he told me about what he left behind in his old town, and how his girlfriend was like just went into her senior year of high school, and she was going to be living in her hometown, and it was like his like ultimate love, and he loved her so much. And he's going to miss her so much, and they're going to try the long distance relationship. And like he didn't really know what his major was yet or whatever. And like I psychologically convinced him, because of my needs, that like I wanted him to go back home so I could be my Dostoevsky, you know, artist with no lights on and candlelight and cigar smoking and just like insanity. So I convinced him that like, if he really wanted to be happy, because he wouldn't be happy if he stayed at this university. If he wanted to be happy, he would go back home and be with the love of his life, because she was going to be in that town for another year. And that's another year he could experience life and love with her. And he could be with his family. And he could go to a community college and then find out what his major was. And then when she graduated from high school, the two of them could go to the same college together. And he would just have to do a year at community college, and he would still be with the woman of his dreams. And then they could go to college together, the same college, and then they could probably get married. He left the next morning. He went back home. But if I wouldn't have given him that speech, maybe he wouldn't have done that. Maybe it would have taken him months to do that. Or maybe he would have just done it. I don't know. But yeah, I implemented the seed into his subconscious. And he thanked me for it when he left the next morning. He gave me a hug and he was like, thank you for giving me that speech because I think it's the right decision. And I was like, not only did I make him feel good about his choices in life, I also got to be the crazy Dostoevsky artist. We both won. He's probably married to her right now. But if he would have stayed my roommate, they probably would have broke up. Long distance relationships rarely work. So yeah, he's probably happily married to her now because of me. I'll take full credit for that one. So that was a manipulation one, psychological. And then the one after that, when I started living with Dr. D the year after that, like we had this like, I think he was like a Haitian guy. He decided to like move into our place, and I blasted one Simon and Garfunkel song called Bridges Over Troubled Water, and I blasted it on repeat. And every time he tried to shut the song off, I would give him this like look that I was gonna kill him, and then I would turn back on the Bridges of Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel and blast it again, and then give him another look like I was gonna kill him. He left in 2 hours. Fuckers. Anyways, so good. And then the next one, the next one moved in like a couple of days later after the Haitian guy left because of Simon and Garfunkel. If you ever want to drive somebody fucking crazy, put on Simon and Garfunkel's song, The Bridges Over Troubled Water. It is the worst fucking song of all time. I don't even know why I had that goddamn CD. I think my mom bought it for me for Christmas or some shit. But like, that song's fucking awful, man. It's goddamn terrible. So yeah, that Haitian guy, he didn't even last 2 hours. He couldn't handle the Bridges of Troubled Water for more than 2 hours and 1 minute. And the fact that I was looking at him like I was gonna fucking kill him. So a couple of days later, we get this other kid. And the kid's just a complete wimp, man. Like, we did not, me and Dr. D were like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy is like, he's not an alcoholic. He's not a drinker. He doesn't give a shit about anything. Like, he's like, like, no, this guy's gotta leave, man. Like, he is not one of us. He's just gonna, like, whatever. But back then I was like a complete asshole. Like my sister, she'll probably write a comment like below, like, yes, you were a complete asshole, because I was a complete asshole. It was terrifying. So anyway, so the next guy moves in like 2 or 3 days later, and he's not one of us. We just do not want him around. And I got violent on that guy because like he wasn't budging with like, I didn't even pull the Simon and Garfunkel stuff on him. I just like got right into his face and started screaming in his face, like spitting on his face, like saying I was gonna murder him, like that kind of shit. Like, and I was drinking a lot, so it's like my family would be the first to attest. When I drink, my whole personality changes. Like I become brutally violent and aggressive and suicidal, which leads to more brutal aggression and anger. Because one way for me to jump out of the suicidal state is to become like the homicidal guy. So like by drinking and it lowering me down into suicidal depression, I jump back up into the homicidal guy, because like I need the homicidal guy to survive, because whenever I'm suicidal, the only thing that protects me, the 3-year-old or the suicidal guy, is to become like the homicidal guy, and he's the protector of all things, right? So like, yeah, and I was drinking constantly. So I just like, he like got scared shitless and he left the next day. But at the time, I had this Anheuser-Busch Budweiser Stein with this like silver lid, like it was like a German one, because back then I used to collect steins to drink out of because I love drinking, and this one was like it was like 32 ounces. It was beautiful. It had the Clydesdale horses on it. Oh God, it was gorgeous. And the kid, he'd been living with us for like 3 days, so he knew that I drank out of that stein constantly. If I didn't drink beer out of it, I drank water out of it. I always drank out of it, right? Like that was my stein. Like I didn't drink anything out of anything else. Like if I was drinking any product whatsoever, whether it was water or beer, it was out of that stein, right? So he leaves really early in the morning. He doesn't tell any of us. But at the time, we also had that huge cockroach problem, right? And there were cockroaches everywhere. So we had like a Raid, like a can of Raid spray, in the kitchen. And so I wake up one morning and I grab my stein, and the kid had left earlier that morning, and I go to put water in it, and I drink the water, and the kid, before he left, sprayed the Raid inside, as probably as much as humanly possible, inside the stein that I drank water out of and beer out of. And I woke up in the morning, I filled the stein up with water, tap water, and I drank it, and I started like gagging and choking, and like I couldn't breathe, and I like started throwing up in the bathroom toilet because I was like poison. I was poisoned. And I was like, yeah, somebody tried to fucking poison me. That was dope. That was fucking awesome. Good on that kid, man. He had every right to poison me. Holler at you, boy. That's fucking great. That kid's like probably like 42 years old right now. So if you're watching this, and you're the one that poisoned me with Raid, yeah, that's fucking cool, man. Good on you. I deserved to be poisoned with Raid back then. 10 times over. So, one of the girlfriends I had, Nicole, so her and I were at this restaurant in, in this like humble town. And, so we were there and we were like waiting for our meal, and I had my elbows on the table because I was like 21 years old, man. I was like a drinker. I didn't give a crap about anything. So I had my elbows on the table, and she's like, she's like, Joe, get your elbows off the table, like, like, only like, you know, no, like you shouldn't have your elbows on the table if you're at a restaurant. And I look around, and everybody in the restaurant's got their elbows on the table. Pretty much everybody in the restaurant has their elbows on the table, right? So I'm like, Nicole, everybody in this restaurant has their elbows on the table. I'm like, it's not a big deal. And she's like, Joe, they're pieces of trash. They're trash, these people. And I was like, God damn. Long story short, well, I kind of really blame her parents, because like that girl had severe neglect in her life. Dad didn't really care about her. Mother was a tyrant. Her mother didn't care about her. She had this like perfect brother that the parents favored over her. And like her parents, I'm gonna show my elf ear off. I'm proud of my elf ear. So, but she had like this perfect brother that's a doctor now, that was like perfect, like 4.0 average in high school, college. He was like the valedictorian and shit. You know how people like to do shit in high school? Like they like to play basketball or football or like draw or like paint or play music or whatever the fuck it is. His favorite thing to do was after school, he would go into his room and he would do math equations for like 3 or 4 hours because he loved doing math, and that's all he ever wanted to do Like that was his favorite thing to do. That was his hobby. That was his like fun thing. Math equations. He was like Doogie Howser and shit. And like, of course, the parents loved him. He lives in like Boston, Massachusetts now. He's a doctor. He's a fucking motherfucker, makes a ton of money. Actually, I think he's in North Carolina. I think he like made enough money in Boston, and he wanted to like live in a like warmer climate. So now he has like a office or some shit like that. That motherfucker, he rolls, and like, but he's fucking nice as hell, man. I met him like twice, and he's a super nice guy. And I think that's also the reason why his parents favored him over Nicole. Because Nicole she was not a nice person. But the brother, oh my God, he's such a loving, kind person. Like, of course, but he's probably also a kind and loving person because the parents favored him. He was the older brother. He was the golden child. Nicole, the younger child, she got into drugs. She dabbled a lot in like, severe drugs. Like, she would go to these like expensive, like they had a shitload of money. She would go to these expensive Manhattan nightclubs and she'd do cocaine in the bathroom and stuff like that. And, she like anybody that does cocaine in bathrooms in expensive like, Manhattan clubs, like that's somebody that has a shitload of money. I couldn't even get into a fucking Manhattan club. And I would never, ever. Oh, there's Rabbit. What up, Rabbit? I would never, ever do cocaine. Never. I have like this Bob Marley theory. If Bob Marley wouldn't do a drug, you should never do that drug. Right? Like, seriously. Like, Bob Marley, right? He would probably drink beer. Okay. He would probably smoke weed. Okay, he probably did a lot of that. Mushrooms. Yeah, he probably did that too. Okay. Everything else, Bob Marley probably wouldn't do. So if Bob Marley wouldn't do it, don't do it. Because as we all know, Bob Marley has all the answers. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you the rest of Nicole's life story because like she had a really fucked up childhood, and it led to just her being a mean-spirited, bitter, resentful person, drug use, like, and then she thought the proper way to cope or find happiness was through materialistic shit, making a ton of money, buying shit, all this other crap, and it was just like she just became miserable and unhappy. And she made everybody in her life miserable and unhappy, and everybody that tried to date her left her. And the last person that left her really broke her heart. I mean, to the point where it was unrepairable. So, I think regardless of your childhood, I think this is the the moral of this video story is, regardless of how shitty your childhood was, as Dr. Janice Webb would say in Childhood Neglect, it's not about harboring resentment or bitterness about the past or what happened in your childhood or what happened in your past. It's about finding out what went wrong in the past and fixing it and fixing yourself now in the present day. And just letting go. Not holding on to resentment. Not holding on to bitterness at all. Okay. I gotta go. Man. Okay. And just becoming a better person. All right. Take care, guys. Love you. Enjoy.